Hey there, nerds. Welcome back to another episode of Two Nerdy Dads. We are on episode 21. Jason, we are legal.
Woo!
With me,
That's
as
awesome.
always, is obviously Jason Applegate. Say hey, Jason.
Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to episode 21 and our second live episode that we record as live and our third video episode. So we're getting used to this thing. I think we're getting the hang
Correct.
of it.
We're trying something a little new in that we have the chat open. So feel free. We're going to enter links and such to things we're talking about if we remember.
Yeah.
If you checked in last week, you probably noticed we forgot to give the thumbs up when we had the spoiler alert.
It's so bad. Somebody's just
What can we
like,
say?
when are these guys gonna finally stop talking about this spoiler stuff? Yeah.
So hopefully, anyways, Jason, what do we have going on today?
Well, I think what I thought was some pretty interesting news that just came out was the Batgirl creative team tweeted out an apology, and it was in regards to their latest issue, which just came out. It was Batgirl number 37. In this issue, there's a villain who's dressing up as Batgirl and stealing and doing things, and that's a pretty common trope in comic books where you have a villain dressed as a superhero and they ruin their reputation, kind of a thing. But in the reveal of who the Batgirl double is, it ends up being a male character. And so there was a lot of backlash from the LGBT community because of the portrayal of the character. Basically, let me read one aspect of it. Was they said in one page, undid a year and a half of positive trans representation in a single page. Batgirl 37 undid a year and a half of positive trans representation in a single page. And of course, that's referring to what Gail Simone had done with Batgirl, which was to introduce a character, Barbara Gordon's roommate, Alicia Yeo, as a transgendered character, and they had a really positive relationship, and it was something that really, hadn't been done before, and a lot of people responded positively to it. A lot of people were upset that Gail Simone had left and weren't too crazy about this new team coming on, and then this happened, I think, on 37, and really got people upset because of how it had taken what Gail Simone had done with this character and completely, like the people were saying, undid it, which was interesting. However, what I thought was interesting was that the artists copped to it and apologized. Let me read to you the letter that they took a picture of. They all had signed it and posted it. The tweet that they tweeted with the picture was Batgirl 37, period. We made mistakes, period. We're deeply sorry. We will do better. Thought that was great, but then the letter says, we have heard the complaints about this issue and are listening carefully to the reactions with grave concern. We could go on all day about our intentions for the issue and the character of Dagger Type, and that was the name of the character, who was this artist, and he was also dressing up as Batgirl and robbing things and just kind of carrying on. But our intentions do not invalidate the legitimate reactions that some have had to this story. Those reactions are honest and heartfelt and exist regardless of our creative intentions, and we don't wish to dismiss them. Instead, we want to acknowledge the hurt and offense that we've caused and express our sincerest apologies. We're all deeply troubled by the reaction to this issue and have made it a point of serious discussion amongst ourselves. While we expect a degree of controversy in regard to the issues of identity and the artistic process that this story was meant to evoke, we do now realize that our representation of this character was flawed. For any elements whatsoever of the story to have reminded readers of the sordid and misguided tropes that associate both drag and gender expression with duplicity. We deeply regret upsetting readers who placed their trust in us, but we're indebted to those who stand up to speak out about their perspective on stories like this. Their commentary leads to universally better storytelling from both ourselves and others, and we hope to live up to that standard in the future. Regards, Cameron Stewart, Brendan Fletcher, Babs Tarr. So I thought that was phenomenal because they could totally, avoid the question. They could say, "Hey, we didn't mean anything by it. Sorry." But I thought the way that they phrased it was, I just had a lot of respect for them. And now I'm definitely going to keep reading their book because I've really enjoyed Batgirl and I enjoyed Gail Simone's run on it. But I've been trying these guys out, and it's different, and I haven't decided whether I like it, but I think they've actually won me over with this. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I'm a little confused. So what exactly is the outcry from the gay and lesbian community?
Yeah, maybe I didn't explain that well enough. In this one page that they're talking about, you've had this Batgirl running around in this like sparkly costume, right? And she's an imposter. For the Barbara Gordon Batgirl. And she's been causing basically a bad reputation for Batgirl. And she, so when Batgirl confronts her and unmasks her, she ends up being a he. And the he is this character called Dagger Type, who happened to be the artist who was featuring art of Batgirl that obviously wasn't Barbara Gordon. It was himself, this imposter.
So in his real identity, is he transgender or a cross-dresser?
Yes, apparently he is, because he was dressed up as Batgirl and he looked like a woman. It wasn't just like he was in a costume that was similar to hers or anything like that. He was dressed up as a woman. And I think where a lot of the complaint came from was, one, in sort of the stock representation of this character, as being villainous and so forth, and lacking the complexity. But I think more so in Batgirl's reaction to him. And if you can look up I'll post a link to the article that I got this from. We'll try this out. Here we go. Here it is. And if you look at that and you look at the page, her reaction is a guffaw. She's got wide eyes and an open mouth, and she says, "Dagger Type, but you're a..." And then he fires a shot, and she falls off of the bridge, faking her own death. So I think it's that guffaw that a lot of people took issue with, because Barbara Gordon in Gail Simone's run had formed this relationship with her roommate who was transgender. Different character, right? Who was transgender and was totally comfortable with that and at home, and they felt that her sort of shock at this female character being a male character undid all of that and basically dismissed it all, which I thought was a legitimate interpretation, and they had legitimate reasons to sort of feel that way.
Oh, I guess I'm just not understanding. Was it her roommate? Was it a woman dressing as a man or a man dressing as a woman?
Her roommate was actually transgender, and I haven't read the issues where she...
Oh, I got you. Okay.
She was, yeah. So she was a woman, but she used to be a man. And
Right.
whether she had surgery or anything like that, I don't know, because like I said, I haven't read those issues. But still, the fact remains is that at one point, the readers and Barbara and everyone thought she was a female, and they come to find out that she's transgender, so used to be a male, and has chosen to be a female. And so, and their relationship, from what I understand, again, I haven't read those issues, was one in which Barbara was very supportive, and their relationship was portrayed as very... I hate to use the word normal because that makes it sound like a relationship would be abnormal, but it made it like, hey, this isn't a big deal. These are people who are transgender are people, and we shouldn't be afraid of them. And then that gets undone in this page, according to some people, which I can see their argument.
I don't know. It's maybe because I'm in Vegas and we have everything possibly imagine.
Yes.
In Vegas, and a couple of things. I work with a normal job. We work with GLAAD, and I honestly, this is kind of badass to me. Is that okay? I've had arguments with people on a normal daily basis where, if you have a daughter, would you allow her to dress up as a male character?
Mm-hmm.
Cool, no problem. But when it comes to, well, if you have a son, would you allow him to dress up in a female character, specifically like a princess or something like that? And a lot of people, dads, are like, whoa,
Yes.
whoa. So to me, I guess I don't quite understand why this is not cool. In that, okay, who we thought was a female character who was, basically going against Batgirl, turns out to be a man. To be honest, if I was Barbara Gordon, I'd be surprised too if I thought it was a female and then all of a sudden it's not.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my surprise. The transgender, the cross-dressing thing, really, again, it would be a surprise that, oh my God, I thought it was a woman, but it's not. It's not necessarily the realization that, oh, it's a man dressing as a woman. That wouldn't necessarily be the surprise. It'd be more, well, I thought it was this, but it's not. It's this.
Right.
So, but I don't read Batgirl. I read when she first came back from New 52.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very curious when she got the use of her legs back. I was very curious at that. But I really haven't kept up with her, so I have zero knowledge of the backstory on this, so I could be missing the point. So I do apologize if I'm missing the point. But from what I'm seeing, it's kind of badass that a man is dressing up as a female character, and that's what he wants to do. It's not like he's trying to gain popularity by dressing up as a female character. That's who he feels he is.
Yeah, that might be where it is, because he's a pretty stock kind of character. I don't think he has much depth to him, and he actually kind of is, like, his whole thing is about fame. At one point he says Kanye wants me to collaborate on his next music video, so he is seemingly doing this to promote himself. So it's hard to, I think that might be part of the argument, is that it's hard to determine whether this is truly somebody who feels that they represent that, like, is dressing up as a woman because that's how they feel comfortable. That's who they want to be. That's the gender that they've chosen, the identity that they've chosen. And instead they really display him as sort of very self-absorbed and maybe immature or gadgety, and I just think that they weren't impressed with the portrayal of the character and felt that it was kind of narrow-minded, maybe.
Well, that definitely makes more sense then. I can see that then. If they just if they're using it as a gimmick, then I can definitely see that as being, that's not cool. Not at all.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know the characters.
And I don't think the creators intended that. I think that's evident in their letter. And I love that they don't go into explaining, like, hey, and defending themselves. They instead say, look, we certainly didn't intend to hurt people, but we're not going to go into what we were trying to do because that we don't want to dismiss how people are feeling, which I thought was really a nice way to phrase that. Instead, they're saying, we recognize that this was offensive, and even if it was unintentional, that doesn't diminish the fact that it was offensive. And then I thought what was great is that they mentioned that, hey, we're glad that you guys called us out on this, or that you spoke your perspective and you stood up for what you believe in, because good is coming out of this. And I really think that it is. I think that both this team of creators has contemplated what they did, and maybe they'll redeem themselves by developing that character or finding some other way to do that, or maybe not. But if nothing else, it gets people talking about it, which I think is cool, no matter what, especially with the way that the artists kind of handled it. So I think that was it. And I think, to get back to what was offensive about it too, I really think it was also Batgirl's reaction. I felt like that was a big part of what people thought. The look of shock on her face, and the fact that she says, "But you're a," and gets cut off. Yeah. But you're a man, sort of is implying that she is shocked by someone who's cross-dressing, and it's sort of like, oh, well, that's pretty, way to go back to 1960 or whatever, which, again, I want to focus more on how these artists responded to it. I think that is what's really cool, and to see a group of artists respond to what their readers are saying about their art, and to grow from that, and that be a positive conversation, even if people were upset by something. That is cool.
For sure. Completely agree with that. Completely agree.
Very cool. So let's go to the next bit of news, which is still DC oriented. You want to let us know what's going on in March here of 2015?
Sure. Well, we all know, the site, which we've talked about a couple times, has DC and done something stupid today, and that's where I'm sure the Batgirl thing landed. But it's pretty cool. DC, and this has been done before. Marvel's done a little ode to Hollywood, but DC came out, and I think they made it a little more apparent because they copied the posters pretty close. But they put their characters into, I'd say, famous movie posters, but they're not all. Like one is Superman, Wonder Woman, and it's Gone with the Wind, with Superman holding Wonder Woman down and giving her the kiss with the fire in the background, which I think is really awesome. But then they also do like Wonder Woman as 300, the movie 300.
Yeah.
Teen Titans, and here, let me put a link up here for to Bleeding Cool. But Teen Titans as the Lost Boys, which is another example of one that's not necessarily classic by some standards, but it's a lot of fun. Superman as Superfly, which awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was a unique one.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming, but that's cool.
Yeah.
Sinestro as Westworld. Supergirl as the Wizard of Oz. Justice League Dark as Beetlejuice. There you go. The Justice League as
Magic Mike.
Yeah, Magic Mike. Thank you. With Superman, Batman. How funny. You have Justice League United as Mars Attacks. Harley Quinn as Jailhouse Rock. Elvis Presley. Green Lantern Corps. What is that one? The old shoot.
Forbidden Planet.
Yes, thank you. Gosh.
Boom.
And then Green Lantern as 2001.
Oh,
The
that's
Flash,
cool.
North by Northwest.
Oh.
Detective Comics is The Matrix. Catwoman is Bullet, which is pretty cool. Steve McQueen.
Mhm.
Batman and Robin as Harry Potter. Love it. The Batman, but it has the Joker on the cover for the movie The Mask.
Yeah.
Batgirl, which we were just talking about, is Purple Rain.
Yes, I love that one too.
But then two of my favorites would be Action Comics, which is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and perhaps my favorite because it's just Aquaman can't catch a break. It's Aquaman with free will, and he's holding up his hand, and a killer whale is jumping over him. And it's like, he can't catch a break. Can't even be on a cool movie poster.
But it's nice that it's self-deprecating, I think.
Yes.
I think Aquaman's at his best if that's happening. Did you say, too, that they had I'm seeing one here that's a Batman, Superman. Is that Speed? Is that... What?
No, I couldn't think of it as I was going through. I think it's The Fugitive.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then the other one I couldn't get was Grayson. I'm
That's
not
Bruce. That's a Bruce Lee movie. That's like
Not
Enter the Dragon or something, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love these. Like, I might have to get them all. Now, my comic store, they've done, DC's done these alternate covers before, and a lot of times the store at which I shop, when these come out, he'll give like a discount if you order all of them, and most of the time I don't. I did for the pinup girl ones because those were really cool. They had those like that retro like kind of 40s look to them. So they were awesome. I got all of those because I just thought they were all gorgeously done. They've done Lego versions, which I just bought a select few of those where each of the covers had the Lego version of that character on it, and they were kind of cool. They did a selfie one. I don't know if you've seen those where like the characters are taking a selfie as the cover to the magazine. That's another one. I just got a couple of them. One of my favorites was Superman is taking a selfie with Batman and Batman, and he's making Batman smile by like pushing his cheeks out like that. Yeah, it was amusing. It was amusing. But this one, they are all cool. Like, all the covers are sweet. Even Aquaman's. Some of my favorites have to be... Gosh, they're all good. I mean, even the Teen Titans is that the Lost Boys, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Supergirl as Wizard of Oz is fantastic. just even if they're not movies that I particularly like the original poster of, like Magic Mike, it's just too funny. Like
Yeah.
that's hilarious. I
Who's
think
that in the back on the right? I can't even see.
is it Aquaman? I can
can't.
see blonde hair. That's all I can see. No, Aquaman's in the back on the left.
Yeah, there's a symbol on his chest. I can't. Is that the Flash?
I think it might be Flash.
They're just too awesome.
Yeah, it's hard to see who that is, but yeah, that's just hilarious, and they're all just gorgeously done. It looks like all of them are. I love North by Northwest, so the fact that that's the Flash is great, and yeah, I can't even. I'm definitely getting all of these. They're just too cool, too cool.
Awesome. Awesome. So what do we have next?
Well, if that was DC getting things kind of right, I think, where they're getting it wrong, 14 comics are being canceled in March. And maybe it's right that they're actually canceling some of these, but we're certainly seeing some comics kind of disappear. I don't know how you feel about this, Jimmy, but I feel like the industry as a whole, there's too many titles out there, especially by DC and Marvel. And a lot of it is just sort of let's just flood the market and just see what sticks. Throw it up against a wall and see what sticks. And it drives me nuts because it's so hard to find good stories.
Yeah. And they're not cheap books. I mean,
No.
Honestly, I don't know what they're up to nowadays, but $4.99 I think was the last book I got from DC, and it's like, what? For
Yep.
one book? I'm not going to risk it on a $5 book to find out if the story's good. No, thank you.
Right. Yeah, it makes it tough. It does. And DC's had 52 titles, so trying to keep up with everything would be a fool's errand anyway. But trying to figure out what's good and what's not, it's almost like you just stick to what and the characters that you like, and it makes it difficult to give other stories a chance. So let's look at some of these that are being canceled. I'll just read all 14 of them off, and then we can comment on a couple of them. I'm sure there's a few that I know I'm going to be like, I didn't even know that was a title, so bye, I guess. But some of them I think that will be, ones that we're kind of like, oh, that's a bummer. So in March, Aquaman and the Others, number 11, will be the last issue. Arkham Manor, number 6. Batman Eternal, number 52. Batwoman, number 40. Green Lantern New Guardians, number 40. Infinity Man and the Forever People, number 9. Injustice Gods Among Us, Year 3, number 12. Clarion, number 6. Red Lanterns, number 40. Secret Origins, number 11. Star Spangled War Stories featuring G.I. Zombie, number 8. Swamp Thing, number 40. Trinity of Sin, number 6. World's Finest, number 32. So I'll put a link of this in here, but in our group chat. But Jimmy, what do you think out of those that I listed off for you? And there it is. If you
I'm at fault. I have not kept up with Swamp Thing, but that's the one that stuck out. Was like, really? Swamp Thing's gone? Oh man! When he came back in the New 52 with Scott Snyder writing it, fantastic, and he teamed up with Animal Man, who was written by Jeff Lemire at the time.
Yes.
Which has since been canceled. Man, that was some of the best stories I've read from Animal Man and Swamp Thing, and just stories in general. They were fantastic, dealing with the rot. It was amazing. So seeing that one go, that one's sad. I was bummed at that one when you read that.
Yeah, it's almost like DC is like they have these awesome cult characters like Swamp Thing where people love that character. They love Animal Man. It has its niche and this sort of cult following, but they never last. They just don't, and it's unfortunate because they're some of the better stories. And you see that even with Constantine, the television series, which I think has been pretty decent. I haven't watched the last couple episodes, but I've enjoyed it. But it's going to get canceled too, and so it's a bummer that those things happen. If it's not a big name, if it's not a street name like Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, then it seems like DC's not willing to stick it out. Although let's point out that Swamp Thing did get to 40,
Yeah.
so it lasted through the whole New 52.
That's what I'm looking at. We've got, Batman Eternal 52, that was said it's going to be a weekly title for a year, so that's hitting its mark, 52. That's just...
Yeah, that one's not surprising. I agree with that.
That one's coming to an end. World's Finest 32, I'm honestly, and I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but with the team they came up with, I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did. Because World's Finest typically refers to Batman and Superman, and that's not who it was. So I'm impressed it lasted almost 3 years. That's pretty good stuff, I think.
I think so too. I think that's a good point. And
the ones you were talking about, like Star Spangled War Stories, got zombies. I don't remember this ever being released coming up. I don't remember ever seeing it. Okay.
Yeah, that was one that I was like, I didn't even know that was a title.
I'm surprised at Red Lanterns. I have not read it in a while. I enjoy the Rage. It's nice. But I've heard that there's been a lot of interesting things going on over there. Specifically, Guy Gardner was somehow involved with Red Lanterns. I'm not sure, but to me, he would fit in.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised. I'm kind of surprised at that one. Green Lantern, New Guardians, again, up to 40. But I think the Green Lantern, or the Lantern Corps in general, was getting flooded.
Yes.
Maybe some specific stories, one-shots, would be good. But to be honest, when they came back in the 52 and I was reading them, they were good, got weak, and they just kept dragging on. I think one of the reasons why I felt like they were dragging on and they were getting to their huge story was every single title we read was building up to this one thing, whereas if it was just 2 or 3 titles getting there, big difference versus 6 or 7.
Yeah, I think they just spread that too thin. And I'll admit I haven't read anything Green Lantern since the whole Black Lantern stuff happened, which was kind of cool, and then I just sort of got burned out by it. And it seemed sort of, when they released all the different rings and they all had their own titles, basically, it seemed, I just was like, I just don't have any interest in trying to follow this. So I'm kind of glad to see some of those get thinned out. The one that upsets me on here, that I think is a bummer, but I'm not surprised that it's on here, is Batwoman number 40. I thought Batwoman was... I read the first story arc of that, and then I didn't keep it up because I could only afford so many books, But it was brilliantly written, and the art was cool, and it seemed to have its own niche as being, you have this character from the Bat universe, but she had a sort of like supernatural appeal to it. Like it had that sort of almost like the Constantine and Swamp Thing and Hellblazer, that kind of storylines with this Bat character. So I thought that it had its own niche there a little bit. But I have to say I'm not surprised, because I think that the creative team was leaving. They were upset because DC would not allow any of their characters to be married. And you had in Batwoman, I'm not sure which issue it is, but the first ever lesbian couple proposal where they're engaged. But DC wouldn't let them get married, and their excuse was, well, we're not having any of our characters marrying, which might be legitimate. That might be a reason. I mean, we've seen what happens when you marry off your characters. Sometimes you lose some storyline. You lose interest, and readers kind of bow out, from that. So I'm not surprised that this is happening, especially because, unfortunately, and you said it too, to an extent, it's a female character in these Marvel and DC. We've seen it. They play lip service, I feel like, sometimes to the female audience, because we see it with She-Hulk and Marvel. Marvel's not, we can't say that. We both said that we feel Marvel's doing a better job, but they can't claim that, like, oh, well, we definitely are appealing to our female readers. Because I'm sorry, She-Hulk's one of the best comics out there, I think, and they're canceling it after 12. And Batwoman's been out there since 40, and you have a character who has come out of the closet lesbian and has been a real beacon for that, I think, which is pretty cool. and sometimes we forget that because we kind of thought of it as like, oh well, yeah, here's a little, what's that, gimmick, you know? But I don't think it was, not with the way that they wrote it. I thought it was nice, so I'm bummed to see that one go.
I'd say the other one that I'm bummed to see go is Aquaman and the Others. I enjoyed Aquaman until Jeff Johns left, and when he left, I don't know who took it up, but it wasn't good. It started off like a Monster of the Week thing, and I hate that. I can't stand that. Tell me a story. I really enjoy that. So when that was gone, and I think it was a month or two later, they came out with Aquaman and the Others. So I'm like, oh, cool, I can jump onto something else. And it was pretty good. It wasn't as good as the Jeff Johns run on Aquaman, but it was still pretty good, and I enjoyed his interaction with these other characters. So to see it go, I'm bummed, but in the end, still Aquaman is the lead on the team, and how many Aquaman books can you have?
Yeah, that's true, and I'll admit I haven't read any Aquaman, his title or Aquaman and the Others. I saw some of the covers sometime, and it reminded me of Batman and the Outsiders, like a sort of misfit group of superheroes, which I think is kind of fun and cool. But those are hard to do too, man. It's unfortunate that we don't. And I don't know if the writing was any good, so I can't speak to that. But like I was saying before, if it's not on a T-shirt at Walmart, then we can't sell this.
Yeah, that's pretty true. And if you look at this list, none of these would be on a T-shirt except G.I. Zombie.
Yeah, right. I see those all the time. Yeah, no. I also heard good things about Clarion, which it's only going to issue 6, so. I was surprised he even had a title. I saw it because he's such a weird character. He's like the Demon Boy or something like that. But I don't know.
It might also be hard for. I mean, we're saying these are being canceled for creative or for economic reasons. It could be that these are the titles that they're having a tough time creatively, as far as teams producing these once a month or like Batman Eternal once a week. And it might just be one of those things where editors and such are saying, you know, we're going to shut these down. Not necessarily just economic reasons, we're not making enough money, but we just might not be able to put enough stories out for these. The time has come to end them.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And I'm wondering if DC is gonna, are they replacing these with another to keep their 52, titles going? Because I really feel like that's part of the problem with both Marvel and DC, like I said at the beginning of this whole thing, is that there just are too many titles out there. And so a lot of it is really watered down, and there's not strong stories.
Yeah, and that's the tough part. I mean, I know a lot of the other nerds always look at the art first, and art's their big thing. To me, I hate to say it, artists, I'm sorry. I usually go for the story. You got to get me in with the story, and if the story's not good, or it doesn't get to the point, or it's misleading, or just not good, you lose me. I'm done, and then I won't even really care about the art. But if it's a good story, then I'll check out the art and good or bad. But you got to have a story, and that might be part of the problem. And I think we've seen it. I can't remember the titles, but DC's tried with some interesting titles. The last, maybe it was 2 years ago, with a good creative team, and man, I wish I could remember. It was like Envy or something like that. There were 2 weird books that came out, and they tried, but they just didn't get what they needed out of it. So they dropped them and found 2 more. So it could just be that, like you said, 52. That's a lot. That's a lot of books.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it is. All right, well, I think that covers in the way of news. So let's
I did want to talk a little bit, and I hate to go and point to the Sony hack just because I hate to give credence to these guys that are hacking. It drives me nuts. Yeah, they might have a beef against Sony, whatever, but they're doing illegal stuff that can turn quite personal, as we've seen some of the stuff coming out, and really destroy careers, destroy reputations. And it's not cool. I don't know why they think it's cool, but it's not cool. If you're listening, cut it out. That's simple as that. But the one bit of news that I did read recently, and I don't know how much of it's true or not, or what point they're at, but it came out through these emails that Sony has actually been in discussions with Marvel, and again, I don't know to what extent or how far along it came, with essentially sharing the Spider-Man character. And by sharing, I mean Sony would allow Marvel, which sounds weird, but would allow Marvel to make Spider-Man movies and use Spider-Man in their own movies, and then there would be a financial split between Sony and Marvel. And I know one of the things Marvel was insisting on is that they would have creative control against Sony, so they would have total control over what happened with Spider-Man, to the extent with they didn't want to include any of the movies that had been made prior and in their canon, and they didn't want to have Andrew Garfield remain as Spider-Man. So I thought that was really interesting that that even came up. I mean, that's one of those things where it's a pipe dream for every nerd out there. Oh, just let Marvel make the movie. The fact that Sony actually was reaching out to Marvel or talking to Marvel at all really floored me, because if you know, well, you know, I'm not assuming, if you know about Marvel Comics, they're going to be doing the movie Civil War in Captain America, I believe it was, and one of the main pivotal characters in that is Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the moment, Spider-Man is licensed to Sony. They have full rights on that. And we know Sony was looking at a Sinister Six movie, a Venom movie, perhaps an all-female Spider movie, which I have no idea what they were thinking on that one. Probably the same thing they were thinking on The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which was awful. So, to see Marvel be able to use Spider-Man in Civil War would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings. I actually like Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, and I know that some people, like, it's pretty polarizing. A lot of people liked Tobey Maguire, some people like neither. I like Andrew Garfield because he brought to the character a sort of a new nerdness to it. Like, I felt like Tobey Maguire's portrayal was the Spider-Man that you and I grew up with and that generations before me grew up with, but now you can be sort of nerdy and brainy and awkward and still be kind of hipster and cool. And I thought that was kind of fun. And I thought what I liked about the newest movies is that I felt like Spider-Man was bringing in a female audience that normally didn't particularly care for comic book movies because of Andrew Garfield, because he's a good-looking dude, and the way that he was playing Peter Parker was romantically interesting. Like, girls sympathized with him as a character and were attracted to him. I don't think anybody was attracted to Tobey Maguire when he was playing Peter Parker. I mean, maybe, I don't know, but it seems like...
Did you not see the movie? Kirsten Dunst was clearly infatuated.
Yeah, she was. That's true. The other thing that I really liked about the movie, and that I think was one of the positives of Amazing Spider-Man 2, was Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy. I thought she was an awesome character, and might be the strongest written female character in comic book movies. I mean, name somebody who's better written than she is. I can't think of one. Maybe Catwoman.
The only one I can think of is Lois Lane, back with Margot Kidder.
Yeah, maybe, but even that, if you watch those, they're kind of campy, and she's still sort of the damsel in distress. But she does stand. You're right. She does have some nice points to her, and she's a strong female character at points. So that's a good one. And I would say maybe Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman in Batman Returns is a pretty strong female character. And
I'm going to keep track of how many episodes in a row you can bring up Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman.
Yeah, you know.
Let's get her on the show.
That would be amazing. Let's get on that. Let's get on. What's she doing right now, right? I mean, I'm sure she totally would.
Yeah. We'll reach out to her. We're on it.
Our people will contact their people. But anyway, I think it's kind of cool. The way that I got it was that they wanted him, Spider-Man, more for his own, not for his own movies, but to be able to plug him into like the Avengers movies and stuff. So I don't know if they go.
That's why they were talking about not having Andrew Garfield, which I agree with you. I honestly really, really like Andrew Garfield. I think he captured the smart-ass Spider-Man much better than Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And to be honest, the smarter, nerdy side, I thought he captured a little better. I really liked Andrew Garfield. I just hated this sequel. I don't know where they got those villains, but they were not in the Marvel Universe when I used to read Spider-Man.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. I wasn't a huge fan of this. The story behind them wasn't very interesting either. For me, it was what I liked about it was, like I said, the love story between those two characters, and particularly how Gwen Stacy. I love that Parker was going to go with Gwen Stacy to England. Like, and that was because you totally expected it to be the girl gives up her dreams to be with her boyfriend who loves her. You know, that's where a lot of the traditional storylines are going to go, and they were going to flip it the other way. And of course, she dies. And spoiler, sorry if you haven't seen it by now. You should have seen it. You should have seen it anyway by now. But the fact that they did that and they stuck to it from the comics, the whole time I'm watching that in the theater, and I'm like, okay, they're going this way. I'm like, she better not wake up and miraculously be okay and alive, because for me that would have ruined it. And so I was satisfied that they stuck with the ending, and it was really cool to see that people, and this speaks to that audience I was talking about, there were people in the theater who had no idea this was coming and literally were out loud, you know, shocked and crying out. I heard a young lady that was sitting a couple rows in front of me who was bawling after Gwen Stacy was dead. I mean, that's how emotionally involved she was into the film, which I thought was pretty cool. Especially considering that she likely wasn't a Spider-Man fan before this, because obviously she would have, I would think she would know that this was coming, and so it wouldn't have been quite as shocking. So if they got rid of Garfield, I feel like they'd be undoing those, and I think that was a step in the right direction, or at least I liked it. But we'll see.
Yeah, and I think that might be, like I was saying, that Marvel wants to get rid of Garfield. It's not necessarily getting rid of Garfield. It's setting their Spider-Man, the new one, apart from everything Sony has done in the past. So it'd be a clean break. Mm-hmm. We're gonna start fresh with this new Spider-Man, which we've never seen before on film, in the Marvel Universe, probably, like you were saying, in a Captain America movie with Civil War or something along those lines, and then break it apart. So
right.
It's not too dissimilar to what they did with the Incredible Hulk, with the awful Eric Bana, Ang Lee version, to Marvel buying the rights from Universal, which I'm sure were super cheap because Universal screwed that up, and Marvel making what I really enjoy, an Ed Norton Incredible Hulk, which I thought was really good. I highly recommend you check it out.
Yeah, nerds, let's not think that Marvel's going to do everything right, though, too. You know, like, I'm nervous about it. And yes, they've done awesome with Iron Man and Thor and the Avengers, and Captain America, Winter Soldier in particular was really good. But just because they've been, you know, hitting home runs with those characters doesn't mean that they will nail Spider-Man, and oh good, thank goodness Marvel finally has Spider-Man, because now they can do a good job with it. It just sort of depends.
Yeah, but they've got a good track record so far, so
that's true.
I'd rather see them doing it than Sony. Sony's made 5 Spider-Man films so far, and 2 actually absolutely are awful. I mean, no matter how you look, in my opinion, 2 are awful. The other one is really, really awesome, and the other 2 are pretty good.
Okay, so which one do you think is really, really awesome? That's what I want to know.
Spider-Man 2.
You like Spider-Man 2?
Doc Ock is the bomb.
I loved Doc Ock up until when they... I don't know. There was the part where his wife died, and I just was like, really? We have to do that part of the storyline? Like, can't he just be your Frankensteinian type of character where he just is so obsessed with science that that's what drives him? And then the artificial intelligence arms were just too much for me. The fact that they started to take over, and that explained why he was villainous, was he was like losing control. I just was like, really? Can't he just be corrupt? What's wrong with having a corrupt, you know, messed up human being play this part?
Well, what we learned today is Jason doesn't like science, and he loves sports.
Yeah. Just give me Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy, and I'm happy. How about that?
Nice. I'll second that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to complain.
Well, see, now we just have the Amazing Spider-Man 3, where the Jackal comes in and clones Emma Stone. And what could be better than a maximum clonage story in Spider-Man?
One of the best storylines ever produced by Marvel, I would have to say.
You didn't live through the 90s of Spider-Man. Wow, were you lucky.
Yes. Yes, you were.
Although I enjoyed the Scarlet Spider. Sorry.
Yeah, you should apologize for that. His hoodie.
Anyway. It was pretty awesome for the 90s. I love it.
It was very 90s. Let's put it that way.
Looks like I got my Halloween costume for next year.
That you should. That would be a good one. I've seen it done before. So anyway, so that's what we've got for news. Let's go to our. We've been doing this. At least we started it last week, and this might be the last week we do it. So maybe just 2 weeks in a row, because of course, next time we air a show might be after Christmas, kind of depending, because how the holidays get.
So
yeah. So we're gonna make some holiday recommendations. Either traditions that we've had, memories that we've had, and suggestions that of something you might want to try out this holiday. It might be a media of some kind, like a movie or what have you. So, Jimmy, what are your thoughts? You want to go with either a suggestion or a memory? We could do both. We could just do one. I don't care. Whatever you want to do.
I'm going to go ahead and do two because I'm not sure we're going to have this next week. But first one I'm going to start off is a recommendation. And for people like Jason who live in the cold, bitter, awful Michigan, this is pretty easy. But for us who live in Vegas or southern states, it's not as easy. We took the kids ice skating this past weekend, and they've never been, and it's been about 20-some years since I've done it. So it was an adventure. We went to a little skating rink they set up. Obviously, they froze the water, and it was in a little rink, and it was all set up. There was no back in the day where when I was in Ohio, the lake froze and we went on it. Awesome. This one actually it cracked me up. It was an ice skating rink size, like a hockey rink, and they had a Zamboni sitting over in the sand, which cracked me up. They bring it up. I don't know how often they did it. We saw it go, and I'm just sitting there laughing to myself because, again, back in my days, we're on a lake. Oh, my God, you never had a Zamboni. How awesome would that have been? But the few times I did go on a rink, I can't imagine. Maybe at night they would do it because they never certainly did it during the day. It was all rough. But, yes, my 5-year-old daughter held her hand almost every time we went around. She wanted to do twirls. She wanted to skate on one foot. Again, she's never been skating, so I'm her crutch trying to hold her up, and I haven't been skating in 20 years. Nobody fell, thankfully, but there were some iffy calls. And then my son, James, who just turned 9 yesterday, he got his skates on and got out there, and he hugging the board all the way around, did that twice, stood up, and then kind of pushed himself off, and he just went at it, which was shocking to me. He's not that kind of kid, so I was thrilled to see that. And the only really danger moment was I was sitting there on the wall watching my kids skate with my wife, and all of a sudden, I almost fell. Wasn't moving at all. Almost fell. I'm like, God, I'm getting old.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That was my recommendation. My memory, I've got to give it to my parents. I know if you listen to Two Nerdy Dads, you're probably like, God, this kid was raised by awful parents. Probably would have been better off as an orphan. Wow. But my parents, I don't ever remember a time in my life where I didn't love Star Wars. I don't remember the click like, oh my God, I love this. It's awesome. I don't remember ever seeing Star Wars for the first time. It's just always been there. For a Christmas, I don't even remember which one, a Millennium Falcon was coming out for Christmas. And I have to imagine it was probably about the time of Empire Strikes Back, if not before that, which would have put me at about 3. But that's all I wanted. And I'm telling this not from memory, but from my parents telling me this. And they were, I mean, this is 1979, 1980. The economy sucks. We're coming out of, the oil and embargo and all that fun stuff with the Middle East, kind of like what we're doing now. But the economy just sucks, so it was hard to come by money. And my parents, we were still young. I'm the first kid, and Dad was just starting out with getting in his career and stuff. So for them to pay, I gotta imagine $100, I don't know, $70, whatever,
Yeah.
for a Millennium Falcon. We're talking about the big one.
Mm-hmm.
Huge stretch. And they scraped their money together. Luckily, so it must have been about 3 or so, because my little sister is 2 years younger, so they probably didn't give her anything. She didn't need anything, whatever. And Christmas Day, I open up the Millennium Falcon, and I just don't remember that specific moment, but I remember playing with this as a kid. Millennium Falcon, flying it around, having the little bridge come down and putting the characters up there, and then playing with the controls and Chewbacca and Han Solo. And the great thing is I'm now 37, so this is over 30 years ago. I still have the Millennium Falcon. It is down in my garage. I've hung it up in certain places. We just moved into this house, so it'll get hung up soon, eventually. But I still have that Millennium Falcon, and I still show it off to my mom and dad almost every year. My mom was just here, and I said, "There it is, Mom, Millennium Falcon." What do you got? So it's very special to me that I still have it. Unfortunately, I did get an X-Wing at 1.2, but I broke one of the wings, so that went bye-bye. But the Millennium Falcon stickers are all in the wrong place. The sound doesn't work anymore. It's beat to hell. The guns are gone, but I still have the shell. That was the Millennium Falcon.
And it's your Millennium Falcon. That's key. You know, that's the one that you loved and played with and went on adventures with. So that it doesn't matter where the stickers are when it comes to that. That's cool.
It is original 1979, 80 that my parents got me. Yeah, I'm really proud of that one. That was a great memory. Yeah.
That's awesome. So I have to ask you a question then. So have your kids ever been sledding then either?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
We're kind of lucky. We have we're at quite a high elevation, but we have the option to go up to Mount Charleston, which is about 45 minutes away, which is obviously a higher elevation, and they have a ski resort up there. Now the bad news is it just opened a week ago, so it's not like we do get a ton of snow.
The season's short then.
Exactly, but we do get snow, and that's sort of another. Okay, I'll throw in another one. Third, we have a tradition that we go up every Christmas. We go up to Mount Charleston, and we play around in the snow and sled. And if you're a friend of mine, and you saw on Facebook last year, I was goofing off and had my Boba Fett hoodie all the way zipped up, and I was lurking in the woods as the kids were taking pictures and stuff. So, yeah, we do go.
That's cool. That's cool. All right, well, let me start with my suggestion, and for me, it is a show that we always watch. We always watch as a family every Christmas. We'll watch, our usual shows together. One year, my son was obsessed with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Obsessed. That he would, we got him one of the Bumbles, the abominable snowman, and he would play that and play it and play it and play it and play it all the time. I think he was 2 or 3 when this was the case. So needless to say, I cannot stand that movie anymore. It's been out for 50 years. It was the 50th anniversary this year, and surprisingly, my kids have not yet asked to watch that, but they will. But one that we will never get tired of and that we will watch every year is Charlie Brown Christmas. I love Charlie Brown Christmas. I think it is one of those things that just stands the test of time. The storyline is great. There's great lines. One of my favorites is Lucy when she's complaining about never getting what she wants for Christmas. She says, "All I get is toys and clothes and stupid things like that." And Charlie Brown says, "Well, what do you want for Christmas?" And she says, "Real estate." I just love it. Gets me every time. Real estate. It's just great. And then of course just the message about the tree and doing something for those who maybe need some love, and that's what Christmas is about. No matter what your religious beliefs are, which this one speaks, to my particular religious beliefs, but even if you don't share those beliefs, you can relate to the idea that Christmas should be about giving and about loving those who maybe are like that tree that aren't very lovable. They're not very shiny. but they need some love, and if you can love them, then they can be something more than what they are. And I think that's what, I know is an important tradition that we've had in our house, not only to watch that show, but also to give something to somebody who is less fortunate than us. We've done, the Salvation Army giving trees, or adopt a family through, the school or something to that effect. Every year we do it. And I'm proud that my kids appreciate that, and they actually enjoy doing that just as much as they do getting the things that they get on Christmas. So I think that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's very awesome.
So my Christmas memory, last time I shared the traumatic hamster. So I'm trying to think of another really good Christmas memory that I can share, and I'm just having a tough time coming up with one. Oh, you know what? Your gift of the Millennium Falcon reminded me of one that I got. It was around the same time, but a little bit later, because when did the Karate Kid come out? Was that like 83, 84, something like that?
I think so, because I remember drive-in movies seeing Karate Kid 2 at the same time as Top Gun.
Oh, so yeah, it must have been earlier 80s then. I just remember that the Karate Kid was huge. Huge. I mean, everybody loved the Karate Kid. Every kid did the crane, and show me sand the floor and all that stuff. It was enormous. And we were huge fans of it. And I remember getting Karate Kid pajamas. They were you had the black belt and everything, and on the back was the bonsai tree and everything. And like, who gets excited about pajamas? Well, Karate Kid pajamas, I was going crazy about that. And of course, you don't just wear them to bed. You would wear them all the time and end up probably drop kicking your little brother and getting in trouble. But hey, it was worth it. Definitely worth it.
Very awesome.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for today's episode, number 21. So we wish everybody out there happy holidays. If we don't see you again before Christmas, then have a Merry Christmas, or any holiday that you happen to celebrate.
I don't know for sure, but I see Facebook lighting up with Happy Hanukkah today. So
there you go.
If that's in fact true, I apologize. I not to throw my religious views out here, but I'm not in the know when it comes to organized religion and their dates.
Yeah, it makes sense though that would be out there about now, because it's what, 8 days long, isn't that it? I know where it comes from, is the different candles and how they stayed lit on oil that was not nearly as enough, and how many days it was lit for. And I want to say it's 8, but yeah, we're both sort of showing our ignorance of other religions, but doesn't mean that we aren't open to them, and that we don't appreciate that people celebrate their own holidays, for sure. So happy holidays from us.
Exactly. And as always, please share your thoughts, ideas, comments, criticisms, stories, parenting fails, which are always fun, with us. You can reach us at info@nerdlocker.com, on YouTube at Two Nerdy Dads, on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube also at Nerdlocker, and of course at nerdlocker.com. So please check us out. And like Jason said, happy holidays, and have a nerdy week.
Have a nerdy week, everyone.